Joseph Hertz. Joseph Herman Hertz, 25 September 1872, 14 January 1946, was a British rabbi and biblical scholar. He held the position of Chief Rabbi of the United Kingdom from 1913 until his death in 1946, in a period encompassing both world wars and the Holocaust. Early life. Hertz was born in Rebren/Rebreni, Kingdom of Hungary, presently part of the village of Zemplínska Siroka, Slovak Republic, in 1872 and emigrated to New York City in 1884. He was educated at New York City College B.A., Columbia University Ph.D. and the Jewish Theological Seminary of America Rabbi, 1894, the seminary's first graduate. His first ministerial post was at Syracuse, New York. South Africa. In 1898, he moved to Transvaal, South Africa, to the Witwatersrand Old Hebrew congregation in Johannesburg. He stayed there until 1911, despite attempts by President Paul Kruger in 1899 to expel him for his pro-British sympathies and for advocating the removal of religious disabilities of Jews and Catholics in South Africa. He was professor of philosophy at Transvaal University College, later known as the University of the Witwatersrand, 1906-8. In 1911, he returned to New York to the Orach Chaim congregation. Chief Rabbi. In 1913, Hertz was elected Chief Rabbi of the United Hebrew Congregations of the British Empire. He received 298 votes against 39 for Dayan Moses Hyamson. His rival candidates had also included Louise Dolly and Bernard Drachman. Hyamson took the rabbi's post of Orach Chaim in New York, which Hertz had vacated for the British Chief Rabbi appointment. Hertz held the post until his death. His tenure was affected by arguments with a wide variety of people, mainly within the Jewish community. The Dictionary of National Biography describes him as a combative conservative. It was said that he was in favor of resolving disagreements by calm discussion when all other methods had failed. Despite his title, he was not universally recognized as the final rabbinical authority, even in Britain. While he was chief rabbi of the group of synagogues known as the United Hebrew Congregations of the British Empire, led by the United Synagogue, a minority of new immigrants who had arrived since the 1880s regarded it as insufficiently orthodox. Hertz tried both persuasion and such force as he could muster to influence them. He added to his credibility among these immigrants by persuading Rabbi Yeheskel Abramsky to become head of the London Beth Din. Hertz antagonized others by his strong support for Zionism in the 1920s and 1930s, when many Jews were against it, fearing that it would lead to accusations against the Jewish community of divided loyalty. Hertz was strongly opposed to Reform and liberal Judaism, though he did not allow this to create personal animosities, and had no objection in principle to attending the funerals of Reform Jews. However, despite all this, his eloquent oratory, lucid writing, erudition, and sincerity earned him the respect of the majority of British Jews and many outside the Jewish community. His commentary on the Torah is still to be found in most Orthodox synagogues and Jewish homes in Great Britain. Despite there being some ultra-Orthodox Jews who do not look up to Hertz, prominent ultra-Orthodox Rabbi Nosson Sherman maintained that Hertz was a great man, a courageous rabbi, and that although he was affiliated with the Jewish Theological Seminary, Hertz was Orthodox, without any question. Although Hertz vigorously denounced the horror of the Holocaust, at one point relating an eyewitness, Hertz saw the British war effort in the noblest of terms, wishing Prime Minister Winston Churchill a happy 70th birthday in late 1944 with the message, "But for your wisdom and courage there would have been a Vichy England lying prostrate before an all-powerful Satanism that spelled slavery to the Western peoples, death to Israel, and night to the sick." He was president of the Jewish Historical Society of England, 1922-3, and of the Conference of Anglo-Jewish Preachers. He was on the board of governors of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and chairman of the governing body of its Institute of Jewish Studies. He was vice president of a wide variety of Jewish and non-Jewish bodies, including the Anglo-Jewish Association, the London Hospital, the League of Nations Union, the National Council of Public Morals, and King George's Fund for Sailors. In 1942, with the Archbishop of Canterbury, William Temple, Hertz founded the Council of Christians and Jews to combat anti-Jewish bigotry. His daughter Judith married Rabbi Solomon Schonfeld. His great-granddaughter is the economist Norina Hertz. Imperial tour, calendar reform. In the 1920s, Hertz successfully organized international opposition to a proposed calendar reform. The League of Nations was considering a calendar amendment, the world calendar, such that a given date would fall on the same day of the week every year. This requires that one day every year, too, in leap years, is not any day of the week but a world day. Thus, once or twice a year there would be 8 days rather than 7 between consecutive Saturdays. Thus, the Jewish Sabbath, which must occur every seventh day, would be on a different weekday each year. The same applies to the Christian Sabbath. Hertz realized that this would cause problems for Jews and Christians alike in observing their Sabbaths, and mobilized worldwide religious opposition to defeat the proposal. Honors. He was made a Companion of Honor in 1943. He was also commander of the Order of Leopold Roman II of Belgium, and had a Columbia University medal. A memorial plaque on his former London home at 103 Hamilton Terrace, Maida Vale, was unveiled on 12 March 1996. Publications. Affirmations of Judaism, a collection of his sermons, was well regarded. He published a further 3 volumes of sermons, addresses, and studies. A Book of Jewish Thoughts 1917, a selection of Jewish wisdom through the millennia, was immensely popular and ran to 25 editions. The Battle for the Sabbath at Geneva, an account of his work opposing calendar reform. Hertz edited a Hebrew-English edition of the Jewish Prayer Book, or Siddur 1946, and contributed to the Jewish Encyclopedia and the Encyclopedia Britannica. Hertz Chumash. He also edited a significant commentary on the Torah 1929-36, one-volume edition 1937, published as the Pentateuch and Haftorahs, and popularly known as the Hertz Chumash. This classic Hebrew-English edition of the 5 books of Moses with corresponding Haftorahs is used in many synagogues and classrooms throughout the English-speaking world. It is also referred to as the Hertz Pentateuch, and it includes the following features: extensive essays on perceived conflict between science and religion, comparisons of Torah's laws and those in the Code of Hammurabi, comments from and source references to Christian sources, including the Authorized Version, King James Version, and Revised Version. It also includes views of the most important medieval Jewish commentators, such as Abraham Ibn Ezra, Rashi, Ramban, Radak, Esforno, and Ralbag Gersonides. The actual writing, which produced 5 volumes, was done by 4 other people, but Hertz recast their material into his own style. When the 5 volumes were combined into a single volume and published by Cincino Press, the Revised Version translation, but not the non-Jewish commentaries, were replaced with the 1917 Jewish Publication Society translation. Both translations were likely edited by Hertz, e.g., at Lev. 2729 RV in Num. 1033 JPS. Notes and references.